Hello everyone. I hope you are able to see me. Yeah, I'm not sure if you are able to see me or not. Let me see if one of you can ping me and tell me if you can see me and you can see the presentation. Can anybody confirm? Just ping me on chat if you can hear me. Great. So let's get back to this thing and I will share this. All right, so I'll do one thing. I'll quickly recap and maybe then we can get started. Okay. So a couple of things first, like this is like first time I'm trying to conduct a live event and I couldn't find anyone who can actually be added to this, who can actually take care of questions. I am trying connecting with Navneet. If he can join, maybe we can take up questions like that. Otherwise, we'll figure out some other way. Other thing with live event is like, I don't think participants can actually speak. So that's another problem. I wanted it to be more interactive. I honestly wanted an interactive session. So initially we started a Teams meeting kind of event, but it was getting full very quickly and we cannot have more than 350 odd users. So that was ruled out this time and we are stuck with a live event. So a few things first, like a lot of you are asking if the recording is available for the first session. Yes, it is. And it is available on the Teams AI community channel. I will show you how to navigate through there, how you can file all the files over there, right? So first, let's go and find the files that we need for today's session. Okay, and then we'll come to the recap of the previous session, and then we will start today's session. So all you need to do is, let me see if I can share my entire screen. I don't think so. Okay, so okay, screen. I'm sharing my screen. I want to show you Safari actually. So can you see this page? It doesn't look like. Okay, so hey guys, please bear with me. I'm just trying to understand how this works. Okay. Share your screen. Okay. Now let me see if I can share my browser. Okay, great. So let me know if you can see my browser. Just ping me on chat. Maybe you have to do it a couple of times during this meeting. Sorry for that. And then we'll get started soon. Anybody can ping me? Okay, so a lot of people are pinging me individually. Can you go and ping to the test group, or maybe in the AI community? If you can ping, that will be better because I won't be able to answer individually. Okay, so when I shared my web browser, were you able to see? Yes, no, can anybody ping here? I'll share again. Okay. I'm assuming you can see it because it is showing the red box here, and that's what the system says. So what you have to do, you have to go here and search for AI community, right? Just simply search for it and you'll find the site, which is nothing but a SharePoint page. You go here and then you can figure out like where all the documents are, right? All you need to do is go to the general tab at the bottom, and I created a folder Python for data analysis series 1. Once you go here, you will see all possible files that we need for today's session and any session we have conducted in past. So here you will see these are the files that we are going to use today. I would say that you can download currently car sale X file and student data CSV file. Once you download this, then also download this basic Python tutorial, this Jupyter Notebook file. Once you are done downloading these 3 files, let me know. In the meanwhile, I'm going back to PowerPoint presentation. I will try to recap what we covered last week. Okay, so last week was a very introductory session, and it was quite problematic one in terms of getting started on Teams and all. So what we covered basically why we are learning Python. So the reason behind learning Python, or in fact any programming language, is to make your job easy. So since we are in information kind of business, and we do deal with a lot of data, whether it is on Excel or it is in PDF document or somewhere else, maybe text files. So we deal with a lot of data and we want to handle it. We want to analyze it. A lot of us might be doing it in Excel or maybe some other tool, maybe SQL also. Right? And you want to go a little further and do a little bit extra on that data. And that's where Python comes into picture. It helps you in managing all the data very quickly. So there are multiple other tools also, like you have C, C++, R is very common. So you can use any of them. We are actually trying to focus on Python. In Python, at least in this series, like the remaining 4 sessions, including today, we will try to focus more on the pandas, which is like a data manipulation library. In Python, I'll tell you how to use it, how you can actually basically read files and write files and do some manipulation over there. This I'll skip, and then we went to hands-on Python programming, wherein I asked you to install Jupyter Notebook. Now, when you install a Jupyter Notebook and open it up, it will look like this, and I will show you how I will open it up in my session also. So once you do that, then you simply go and create a new notebook. In fact, you can open it also, and we will see that in a while. I have also posted a Jupyter Notebook cheat sheet in the same location. Please download that because it contains a lot of keyboard shortcuts which will make your life easier. I will also talk about it, but keep it handy with you. Then we talked a little bit about the strings, list, and a couple of other things, and which we will review again today in terms of live example. Okay, so don't worry about remembering any syntax or anything. Don't worry about it. Just try to understand the basic concept, why we are doing and how we are trying to do it. If you understand the basic logic, then you can easily find the syntax on net or in the documentation. That also we will try to cover. So the way I will conduct today's session, it will be mostly hands-on. I will read data in front of you, and then we have to do something, right? Whatever we want to do, we will figure out how to do it, right? So sometime I will maybe initially I will give you pre-coded, pre-written code, or in some time maybe I will try to show you how to find that piece of information and where to find it so that it's reliable for you. That's pretty much it. And then in the last slide of the previous session, we also talked about the learning resources, right? So this slide will be there for all the sessions, right? In every session's PowerPoint, you will find this slide so that you need not to search for it. All you need to do is simply go to one of these things, and this should be good for you. Plus the data that we are posting, that is also helpful. Okay, so once again, you can come here, or there is another location also, which is in Teams. So let's go to Teams, and you go to Teams, and yeah, it's getting recorded. So somebody said if it is recorded, yes, this channel is getting recorded. So all you need to do is go to the Teams and find a new channel, join or create a team. So you can say join and type in AI_community. Once you go there, go to the general, right? So that's where you are pinging me and sending all the messages. Please keep posting your questions and all here only for today. I will figure out a way to actually handle it during the live session, maybe later. So once you are here, all you need to do is go to the files. At the top, you see general, post, and files. So once you go to file, you will come to this folder. So these are the older files that we have. So I created new folder so that you don't get confused. Just simply go to Python for Data Analysis Series 1 and herein you have all the same files which you saw on the SharePoint. So right now just go and download entire folder, or maybe just download a couple of files which we will need today. So I will say just download first Jupyter Notebook cheat sheet. Right? How does it look like? It's like this, and we will see all this in action only. Okay, let's zoom it up a little bit. Yeah. So as we discussed last time also, there are two modes in Jupyter Notebook, command mode and edit mode, and I will show you. So when you are in command mode, when you select a cell, it turns blue. So towards the left, there is a blue bar over there. Then all these things will be applicable. When you are in edit mode, that means you can type something, then it will show green and the cursor will blink over there. Then all these commands will work. Right? So this will be helpful in actually navigating through Jupyter Notebook very easily. So for example, if you are already familiar with some or the other programming language or different IDE, then you might notice that it looks a bit weird initially, right? So how to navigate, I can't see the output immediately, how to enter a new cell, if I want to combine multiple cells or I want to write multiple lines of code, how to do all these things. So that's why I say just go through this cheat sheet once and we will also see how to go about it. Awesome. So just do this in the meanwhile, just download these few files and keep your Anaconda handy. So basically all you need to do is go to the Anaconda navigator in your program files or whichever system you're using, open it up. I am assuming that you have already installed it, and then we will launch the Jupyter Notebook. I will keep the posts window open to see if there are any questions. So anybody who is not able to install it? Anyone? If not, simply visit anaconda.org.com. I think, I'm sorry, I keep saying it org. So it's this website, Anaconda. Wow. Simply say Anaconda Python. Hopefully it won't give you the animals picture. Yeah. So you go here, Anaconda, individual edition. All you need is here, simply go to products, individual edition, and say download. It will take you to the bottom of the page. Then you have all the installers. Simply go for Python 3.7 64-bit installer, assuming your operating system is 64-bit. Most likely if you are using Windows 10, then definitely it is. Windows 7, some cases it was 32-bit also. So I mean, once you download, if it doesn't work, then simply go for 32-bit. As simple as that, right? So if you have not installed already, please do that in the background. Just put it for download. It will keep downloading. It's a big file, 466 MB. It will take a couple of minutes, and then we will go here. So if somebody is not able to install, I would suggest like you can actually look into the documentation they have. Just try to install it and see what errors you are getting. And then post those error over here, and anybody can answer, right? So guys, please treat it as a community, and that's why I named it as a community. Anybody can post question, anybody can answer it. So please don't wait for me to answer it. Anybody can answer. Okay. Mostly your installation, if it is not working, there might be two reasons. One, your file is not downloaded properly, or you are using the wrong version. So maybe your operating system is 32-bit and you are using 64-bit. Apart from that, mostly Anaconda also have their documentation. You can simply go there and see all the process. I mean, they might have some video tutorial also, right? All these things are here. Good. So let's get started with current session. So what we have to do, once you open up your Anaconda navigator, all you need to do is install Jupyter Notebook. So it will automatically show you if it is installed or not. So if it shows like this, that means it is not installed, and you can click on install. That portion will be installed. If it is already installed, all you need to do is say launch. Now this thing you will be a little bit surprised when you click on launch on Jupyter Notebook. Actually, it opens a bash terminal, basically your command prompt, plus it opens up a Safari web browser page also, right? So this is basically your thing, right? And we'll say localhost something, right? So don't worry about it. Just this will open. So let me keep it at center so that all of you can see it. and I will turn this off. So once you open this page, right? So this page you can see simply all you need to do is go to the new and create a new notebook. Or what you can do, if you have downloaded the file that I gave you, right? You need to navigate to that folder. So what I did, I downloaded those files into this particular folder, Python S1, and here you can see all the files here. So simply you go to IPyNB notebook, right? This is the untitled because this is what we opened last time. So you can click on it, another tab will open and you can see all codes which we wrote last time and along with the output. So we are not deleting the output here. So that's the good thing. So last time when we ran, we can actually see some of these things. Now, one thing you will notice in your version, you won't be seeing this timing, right? You will simply say it won't say only number will come up after you execute the code. The reason is I installed some additional extensions which you can also install. It is known as NB extensions. So if you are interested really in doing that, you can simply say NB extensions for Jupyter Notebook. And it is like a straightforward thing that you can do. Right, just read it and you can easily install it. Okay, and it will install a couple of other interesting features also, but let's not get into that right now. Now, a couple of things you will see. Sometime when you open up a new notebook, let me close it for now. Let me open a new one. So if you do not name it, okay, before that. So all you need to do is go to the new and create notebook Python 3, right? So you will see typically it is having only one cell, nothing else, right? So how to actually add more cell and how to go about it. But before that, the edit at command mode. So right now it is in command mode. That means the command keyboard shortcuts which were listed in Jupyter Notebook cheat sheet will be available now, or they will work now. If you don't find it, simply go here. It will show a keyboard, and these are the keyboard shortcuts that you can use. Mostly you will need 3 to 4, not more than that, and those I'll tell you. If you go to the command mode and see it is like blue and hit B for boy or B for below, then it will enter a new cell, right? If you hit A, then it will enter a cell above it. Okay, so that way, whenever I start a new notebook, I simply press B multiple times, so I have enough cells to work on, and there is no limit. Actually, you can keep going on. So this is still in command mode. So if you click anywhere on this side, it will come into command mode. If you click somewhere here inside this cell, inside this gray box, then it comes into edit mode, and you can see it is turning green now. So now you can simply write your code. Import pandas as PD, right? Now to run this cell, to basically execute the code, you can click run, or you can go here and say run cells, or you can hit control enter, or you can hit shift enter. What is the difference? If you go and hit shift enter, it will execute this code and it will select the next cell. So I am hitting shift enter both together. So you can see it is actually working. So if there is a star mark, asterisk mark, you can say that it is working, executing. Plus you will see here Python 3, a circle is there. If it is dark circle, that means the code is executing. If it is empty, then it will say kernel idle, or it will say kernel busy. So let's do it again. Hopefully it will show you that thing. Okay, so let me do something else. Import numpy as np. I'll tell you why I'm doing this also. So now focus here. Okay, this thing will turn dark and it will say kernel busy. Yeah, it executed in 2 milliseconds, so we can't notice it. But for the longer files when you're reading, you will see that thing. Now, important thing here is, what is this import pandas as PD? What does it mean, right? Why are we doing this is very simple. We are importing a library and we are simply creating an alias for it. So rather than writing everywhere pandas, I will simply denote it by PD. It is a shortcut. I mean, you can choose not to do that way also. You can simply say import pandas. That will work. In some places, you will when you'll be looking at tutorials, you will simply see people saying import star from something import star, right? Never do that. Like let's say somebody says from pandas import star. This is a very, very bad practice. You won't know what all functions are in this library, and they will be available on your workspace, and you'll be actually struggling to do anything. Okay, so and you can automatically see it has named it as Untitled1. Now, if you want to change the name, simply go here, click here and change it. Let's say test1. You need not to say .ipynb, which is nothing but Iron Python notebook. No need to do that. Simply say rename, it will be renamed. You go back here and you can simply see it here. Where did it go? Refresh it. Test1. Green means this is running. It will show running here, and gray means it is not running. All right. Okay, I'll give you 1 or 2 minutes. Maybe just open up your Anaconda. Just try to open a notebook and open at least one of these files. Maybe Untitled1 you can simply open, if nothing else. And I will be on this chat window to see if there is any issue that you're facing. So, by the way, if somebody was not able to join the previous session, we have the recording also available. So that's interesting actually. So I posted it here somewhere. So I have to search for it. But what I will also do is I will create a document in this files post. And I will so basically I'll create a Word document over there. I will share the link of the recording there, plus next meetings live events link also, so that whenever you come, you have only one place where you can get all information. If anybody have any suggestion to make this session smoother, more interactive in terms of if you can also talk, let me know. Currently, this is the only way that I am aware of how to conduct this session. OK, so I will take a couple of questions here. So you are able to, thanks for this. I did not join previous session. That's OK. You have the recording. You can go through it, but mostly we covered today. So if you can skip, that's also fine. What is the difference between PyCharm and Anaconda? PyCharm and Anaconda, they are different distribution, right? PyCharm is nothing but an IDE, right? So it is like wherein you can write your code, right? So it's a interactive interface, like a notepad, you can say, with more features and functionality, or you can say it is like MS Word, but with more features and functionality where you can run your code also. Anaconda is more like a tool which has Python, which has Jupyter Notebook. It's kind of interface, and it has Spider and so many other things. And it tries to manage all the libraries in Python so that they are not conflicting with each other. Forget about all these things. I would say just install Anaconda. Within that, only use Jupyter Notebook. That should be good for this series at least. Yes, so Anaconda documentation will be applicable if you are, I would suggest, like, if you have already installed, that's fine. But if you install Anaconda, automatically it will install Python, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. So anyway, you have to download the entire Anaconda distribution. Cool. So let's get started now with our today's session, and I will open up one PowerPoint. We'll just go through some of the basics of reading data and writing data. Can just somebody ping and say that you are able to see my slide wherein I am saying Python for Customer Analytics S2. Let me say S2. Just somebody please ping. Anyone? Idle and Jupyter in Python is nothing. Idle is a very, very fun, basic IDE where you can write in code, right? And it comes with Python prepackaged. Jupyter Notebook is another IDE which is much more, I will say, much enhanced than Idle Python. It's up to you. OK, I would say go for Jupyter Notebook right now, right? That will be much easier to follow. Cool. So let's simply get started with today's session, and we'll talk about few things in terms of how to look at the data. OK, so any data that we try to analyze, we will assume it's in a tabular format. If it is not, we will try to convert into a tabular format. And whenever you are looking at any data in tabular format, you have rows and you have columns. right? So if you go and look in Excel, you have rows 1, 2, 3, 4 and columns A, B, C, D. It is exactly the same thing that we are doing here. So in pandas or in when we are talking about NumPy or pandas, forget about the word NumPy. It is a library in Python, but we will be learning pandas, which will do, I think, bulk of the job that NumPy can do, right? Only for better programming speed or better execution speed, you need to go to NumPy. But I think for all practical purposes, you should be good with pandas. So don't worry about it. So here we say that in Python, all the counting starts with 0. That is the one of the fundamental mindset change you have to make, that counting starts with 0, not with 1. That is one thing. Second thing is the row will be represented as axis 0. Why they are doing it? Don't worry about it. Just simply say that row is axis 0 and column is axis 1. Okay, so this cell is what? 0, 0. So row 0, column 0. 0, row 0, column 1, row 0, column 2, so on and so forth, right? So now you can simply see, if I want to refer any specific cell, I can simply mention the row count and the row number and column number. That's where you will get this. Now let's come to this piece on the right hand side. At the top, you see this box, right, wherein we have how many cells? 3 by 3. So 3 rows and 3 columns. Okay. So total 9 boxes we have, 9 cells we have. Now this image is saying that we have selected this on the right side, we have selected 4 boxes. How you can simply represent it? You say that up to 2, colon 2 is up to 2 and 1 colon is 1 onwards, right? So don't worry about it. We'll see that in practice also, right? So first thing is always row. Second is always a column. So if it says shape is 2 by 2, that means there are 2 rows and 2 columns. Let's go down here. How many rows we have selected? 1. How many columns we have selected? 3. Which row we have selected? 0, 1, 2, right? This is 0, this is 1, this is 2. So we have selected this row. It's a bit counterintuitive to say that we have selected third row and then we type in 2 here, but you'll get used to it. Okay. So this means we have selected row 2. Here we say selected row 2, but all the columns, right? Here we were saying only column 1 onwards, 0, 1, 2, so 1 onwards, like that. Now if I say select all the rows, but only up to 2 columns, it is like this, right? So this is the fundamental thing. Whenever you get confused between axes, rows, columns and all, come to this slide and see what it is doing, right? So, and there are some common operations which you can do, like unique. Automatically it will say compute the unique elements, right? Then you say intersect 1D, it will say what is the common element in X and Y. Union means combination. So basically these are all set operations which are available in SQL also. They may be useful sometime and we'll see those examples. Now coming to our Python library for data science, if anybody has worked in R, they will say there is a similar concept like data frame, or simply data.table is a library which the people use in R. In Python, we use pandas, which can actually help us in reading, writing various sources of data like text file. You can connect it to databases, you can connect to text file and so many other things. You can read, you can write also. Plus you can do all sort of manipulation. Typically for any documentation, I go to their website, which is pandas.py.data.org. So you can find all the documentation over there. Plus there are a lot of other websites which actually gives you example also on pandas. And we'll see some of them. So this is how you read data using pandas that we saw. Import pandas as PD, which means you are importing entire library and referring it as PD. PD is a shortcut, like you create a shortcut on your desktop. That shortcut is nothing, but if you click on it, it will take you back to the original file. So what it will do, it will simply say like this. So this is how we read a CSV file. We will say pd.read CSV. What it is actually saying, pandas.read CSV, but PD is a shortcut, so we can use that. And we say that read this file, which is named as salaries.csv. Now, immediate question will be like, where is this file located, right? Sometime you will be able to run this code, sometime it won't run. There are two things. So whenever we do not mention any path here, like whether it is in downloads folder or some other folder, we don't know. So whenever no path is mentioned, that means the file should be in the same location where you have the code, right? I will show you that. Otherwise, you can mention the entire path also. So I will show you how you can actually do that. So let's go back and to our code window. Let me see if I can minimize some of the windows to keep it less confusing. OK. Close it. OK. So we are here, right, in our old notebook, and what I will show you a couple of housekeeping stuff which will help you. So you write this thing, and yes, Python is case sensitive. So suppose I write import OS, it won't run. It will say invalid syntax because this is simply not the way to write. It's in small cases. You can write in caps also, but it is case sensitive. So I will say import OS. So this is a standard library, and then simply run it. And then you can say os.get current working directory, CWD. So it will tell you which directory you are operating in. So basically the path. Now, if you have any file in this folder, it will be automatically read. You can read it simply by using this statement pd.read_csv, and you can name the file. So let's see what is the name of our file. Our file's name is student_data.csv. You can simply mention this. Sorry. Yeah. Right. Now, if I run it, and you have to, let's say I'm saying it dt equal to. So what it will do, it will read the file and assign it to dt. So dt becomes a shortcut for that file. Name pd not defined because I didn't execute it. OK, so now it has done the job for me. Let's see. So how to know whether what all we have, right? So there is a simple command which says whos. So it will show you in your workspace, you have different kind of whatever you have imported. So I created a variable dt which is referring to data frame, and it has certain level of information. Plus we have imported OS library, which is a standard module. Then PD, it is not showing pandas, it is showing PD. Let me show you also NumPy if I can import NumPy. I won't do anything. I will simply say NumPy. Let's see if it shows here. Yeah, so now you can see it is showing NumPy. Earlier, I also executed this as NumPy as NP. So you can see it is referring to the same thing, but different name because I created it that way. So this is something that you can do. Now, sometimes you will say you have done a lot of things. Now it is very cluttered. You want to get rid of all the output. So you can simply go and say all output clear. Right? Shortcut could be Control L. Right? That again you can see. Just typing here clear cell output. Right? So this OK. So there is no here. I mean, I set it up. You can also do that. You can actually customize it as well. OK. So let's go back to this, and we were talking about reading the file. Now it doesn't mean that this function can be used only to read CSV. You can use any kind of text file, but just it says CSV. So then you have a different kind of syntax. Suppose somebody says I am giving you tab separated file. How will you know what is the syntax, right? You cannot definitely remember it. So what we do, I simply do this. I will go to Google and I will say how to read tab separated file in pandas. Right, so you'll get this kind of. Now, whenever you get multiple results, I would honestly suggest two places to look for. First is any kind of Stack Overflow answer, which is stackoverflow.com, or simply pandas documentation, which is the best place to go. Most of the time when you're looking for syntax only, then it is good to go to pandas documentation. So it will tell you, OK, what kind of information you need. This is the old one, I guess. Okay. Okay, let's check it. I'll show you the documentation page maybe later. Okay, let's go here. So somebody will say that they're working on Windows but not on Mac, all those things, maybe whatever the thing is, but let's see here. So here you will see people write answers along with the explanation and code also, right? So they are saying pandas.readcsv, this is the file name along with the path if it is in different folder. Then you have to put a separator also, which is keyword. You say sep equal to /t. That means now it will consider the separator is not comma, it is tab. So by default it is sep. So let me figure out pandas documentation I want to see. I will search pandas. Yeah, here we go. Pandas 1.03 documentation, pandas.py. Okay. So I was searching for something at dummies. Let's say we search here for read_CSV. It's a bit counterintuitive to what I was saying. I was saying that you can actually search directly and then figure out which function that you can do. But I want to show you if you reach to this page, how you will get that information. So typically when you search for it, read text file in pandas, it should give you a link to this page. Now, the moment you come here, you can see all possible options which are there, right? So you can simply read, go through it. Okay, separator. It will tell you how it is separated. Default value is also mentioned. Then whether you want to read header or not, if header is available or not, whether you have multiple columns or not, and you want to use only few columns, all this you can do. Best part is if you go to the bottom, there might be some examples also, right? Which will say, okay, this is how you can use it. In this case, the example was mentioned here itself. So it is saying pd.readcsv data use calls equal to these two. So initially, if you are new to Python, you will see there is a lot of syntax, right? You have to type in square brackets, you have to type in quotes, comma, normal brackets, other brackets, so many other brackets. But once you start getting used to it, it will seem intuitive. How? Let's see. So last time we were talking about lists, right? So we were saying that, okay, what is list and what is a variable? So we said that a variable is nothing but a mug or a spoon, while a list is a bucket. So now let's see how it looks like. So always think like this. Whenever you have to use more than one thing, think of list. That means square bracket, right? So let's say dt dot columns. So which are the columns? So we will simply say this and it will give you this something like this. Now this is a list within the square bracket. But the output is not a list, output is something else, don't worry about it. But if you want to convert into list, let's simply say to list. Right? Now you can see it is within square bracket, every element is within quote and separated by comma. Right? So that's how you can actually think of list. Anywhere, even when we are trying to select multiple columns, the moment we say multiple, you have to think it has to be enclosed in a square bracket, and that's where the you will tend to think about how to use the square brackets. Let's go back. We will come back to it, but let me just take up some questions if you have. So Gaurav is asking how to get function suggestion for library, as we might not know all the function. Very true, and I also don't remember all the function. In fact, I remember very few which I use frequently. My best approach is go to Google and search for it. Simply say that this is what you want in Python, right, or in pandas. Simply, and you will definitely come up across either this documentation or some this Stack Overflow answer wherein your questions will be answered. I can guarantee like 99% of your questions will be answered in these two links. Any questions, please keep typing in and I will come back to you. So in the meanwhile, people are typing question or somebody is sitting idle. What you can do, you can simply go to this folder. Sorry, this file that you downloaded today and go to basic Python tutorial or maybe exercise 1 reading data.ipynb. Right. So this could be your exercise and what we will do in class could be your basic Python tutorial. So this tutorial, especially this particular code and the data has been shared with me by Suchit. If Suchit is on call, he can also help you out whenever you want. He actually contributed to this session. So all I'm saying is open this file and try running the first line of code. Assuming your code and data is in the same folder. For sake of simplicity, keep it in the same folder and simply execute it. Okay. In the meanwhile you are doing it, I will go back to the questions page and wait for the questions. If anybody has any question. A few people have pinged me here. Please do not ping me on personal chat. It's better to ping it here. Please show the student file download to workbook again. Okay. Just simply do this. pd.read_csv student_data.csv. This function is something that you will remember very quickly because this is the most important function because you have to read data. I mean, to do anything, you have to read data first, and this is the one which provides that interface. Also, if you want to do more immediately and you know already, simply go to this folder again and download Pandas, Python Pandas cheat sheet 1. I will show you that in a while, just in a moment. All right, so in the meanwhile, I'm waiting for you to run this. I'll give you 2 minutes to do it and then I'll come back. Yeah, so now onwards, whosoever is in this call, please start following the Teams channel AI community for any communication so that it is easier for me to actually follow because some people are staying pinging here, which is a bit difficult for me to follow in 2 places. Please do not send messages individually. I may not be able to reply because many people might have. OK, yeah, this is interesting. So it says nothing is happening when I run import pandas as PD. You won't see anything. If it doesn't say anything, that means it has run successfully. Go to the next step. OK, some people were saying join AI community team. It is asking for a code. I set it up as a public channel, so hopefully you should be able to join. There should be no code for it. OK. And when you are last time what happened, couple of people were requesting access for the file. So do not I think what you did, you went ahead and searched for a file on SharePoint and that file was sitting on my OneDrive, right? My personal OneDrive, basically official OneDrive. And you are requesting access for that. So I won't give you access to my OneDrive definitely. What you have to do, you have to come to this folder and here you have to download the file. Here you can download file without actually getting any access or permission. OK, /t. Yes, it is the same thing. Let me go back. OK, forget it. Anything. All right. Cool. So you can see my problem, right? If a lot of you ping me individually, it will be like you are asking question only to me while others can help you immediately. So you have to wait for answer, while if you ping in the common platform, you might get your answer instantly and maybe better answer also. OK, let's go back to the slides. Today's session you will find little slow because I'm moving intentionally little slow. Because we have to cover what we did in last session, plus I'm trying to get used to it and I'm trying to make sure that you are able to at least run your first code. Once you are done with today's session, I would suggest after this, go back and spend some 30 to 45 minutes in trying various things which we have given you in the code. And in next session, we'll be little up to speed, little faster maybe. Okay, so read CSV is one way, but you can also read Excel file, and we will show you that read underscore Excel, which is like a very common thing. I would honestly suggest, like, wherever you can, you use a CSV file or a tab separated file. Avoid Excel as much as possible. I will tell you why. But if you can clean up your data within Excel, then nothing like it. In fact, you can read it directly in Pandas. Plus, if you have multiple sheets also, then you can refer to sheet name as well, right? So you can simply say, okay, sheet name is which one that you want to read, so that it always by default it reads sheet 1. So if there is only one sheet in your data, it will automatically read that. If there are multiple, it will read the first sheet by default if you don't mention the sheet name. Then all these you don't need. Let's move on. Then we say that, okay, let's it has read, so it won't say anything in the code, but I want to see how my data looks like, right? In Excel, you open the file, you see the data. So you simply say df.head. So it will list down first 5 record by default. If you want 10, 20, 50, all you need to do is within this bracket, you have to put that number df.head bracket 10. So it will show you 10 records or 20 records like that. Now you can simply guess like how to view the last few records. Very simple. Instead of head, you say tail, T-A-I-L, right? Very simple. So it will show you last 10 records. Suppose you say I want to see random some records randomly selected from this data. So simply say df.sample, right? Instead of head or tail, you mention sample. My son is peeping. He thinks that it's 4 o'clock. My meeting is not yet up. Till 16:30. So all you have to do is write sample, and then again, if you don't do anything, by default it may pick up 5 or 10 record, but you can put in some number also. I am not sure if text blank one, but you can do that. Then what you need to do is, suppose you want to select a particular column, right? So as we said, if it is a data frame, you have to start with the square bracket, then simply select the column name, basically write the column name and say dtype. Dtype is nothing, it will tell you what is the type of the data. Now, don't worry about like remembering all the syntax right now. Try to understand some basic things. So basic things like, if I want to see the data, how can I see it? Maybe head was something or tail was something that I should be using. Then suppose you have to select a column, right? How you should be selecting a column. If you want to see the types of all the columns, how can you see that? So on and so forth. And important thing is you need to know in most of other languages, what we do, we write a function name and then put in the arguments. Here it works that way also, but in Pandas it works slightly differently. Like this, if you see df.head. So head is a function which is being called on this data frame. So it is an attribute of data frame, right? So that's why we say df dot. So good thing is you can access it in a sequence fashion also, and we will see that not today, but in subsequent session. But important thing to note is whenever you are creating any data file, please do not keep dot in the name of the file. That creates a problem for you, and so these things you can simply avoid. Then I have listed all these things, so just go for it. So basically shape is something that you will keep looking. Okay, what is the size, number of rows and number of columns in the data, so on and so forth. Forget about other words that were there. Now here's something we will talk about, like describe. So when we say describe, it will simply generate some statistics about the numeric columns in the data, right? So no need to remember it again. What you need to remember for now is read CSV, head tail. That should be good for you. Min, max, median, we will talk about it later. Drop NA will come to it. I'm not mentioning it a lot here because it's a big thing and we will talk about it in detail. Then comes filtering, right? So you say that, okay, let's go back to, okay, let me talk about this example here. So what we are saying is there is a data set wherein you have many records. Now in Excel, what you do, you go to the data header and apply a filter, right? In that filter, then you select some condition. So you will go to the salary column and you will say that, okay, anybody having salary greater than $120,000, right? So that's what you will select, and Excel will filter only those records for you. Exactly same thing you have to do here. And you have to say that within this data frame, that's why you'll see df twice. It is saying within this data frame, look for a salary column where the value is greater than 12,000. So that will give you a subset. We will see this in practice also. Now here also, if we want, if there is a categorical variable or there is a numeric variable also, if you want to say precisely same exact value, right? So you want to say who has $120,000 of exact salary, then you simply put, instead of greater than, you can put double equal. So single equal will not work for comparison. Single equals mean it is assigning, it is creating something. So when you run this code, it will create another data frame df underscore sub and assign these rows to them along with the columns, of course. But if you use this double equal to, that means it is comparing and it will return true or false, and based on that it will select and return you another column. So this is very important. A lot of time we keep struggling. We are trying to compare and we put single equal to equals symbol. You have to put in 2. Okay. Then we want to slice the data frame. Like in Excel, you want to select only 1 or 2 columns. You don't want to select all. What you do, simply select that column and maybe cut and paste it somewhere. Right? Suppose you want only 2 columns in an Excel sheet. You copy those 2 columns, paste it somewhere else. Same way you can simply do here. If you want to select a single column, you can do like this. But if more than one, that means we have to think of a list. So here you see it is under this square bracket. So this is the list within that data frame, right? So whenever it is more than one, immediately you should start thinking about list, right? This is general thumb rule. And we'll see all this in a while also in the code. Then we say that you want to select some rows. Right now, till now we were selecting only columns, but you want to select some rows also. So we saw that head and tail and sample function select rows along with all the values in the column. But head, tail and sample are very limited, right? So head will select top rows, tail will select bottom rows, sample will randomly select something. But I am very specific. I say that, okay, give me the row number 10. Then you have to use this kind of approach, right? So then we have df.loc and df.iloc. I'll come to that. But in general, you can simply mention the row number. And you have to remember that it starts from 0. Do not worry about this approach because it is something that you rarely need. Rarely you will say, give me 10th record of the data, right? You will say 10th record of data. Maybe you'll put it in a different way. You will say that give me the third largest record in a particular group. So that is something different and we will see how to do that. So, but know this at least, like if you see some code somewhere, you will know what they're talking about. Then this is interesting. Again, it says LOC, it says, okay, only rows between 10 to 20 along with these columns. So remember when we were talking about the first slide in the data frame, like basically a square box wherein we say this is row, this is column, a combination and row and column makes a data frame. So here same thing we are doing. We are selecting few rows and selecting few columns, right? If you don't put column names, then it will select everything. If you don't put row names, it will select all the rows like that. As simple as we think. Then what is iloc and loc? So whenever you are talking about comparison between a number, then use iloc. Otherwise, you can use LOC, loc. We'll come to that also. For this session, you need not to worry about it. These things on the slide, you have to actually study, right? I will say study like after this session, maybe by tomorrow, you should be able to go through this slide and try to run this code in your notebook, right? So I won't get into this. Then common actions we do is sorting, right? So what we have done so far, very simple. We have read a data, which is a tabular data, which is in like an Excel file, sheet on Excel. Then we said that, okay, select one column, select multiple columns. Then we said, okay, filter few records, right? Select only few columns, select only specified records, take a preview of the data and so on and so forth. After that, what you do a lot of time, you also sort the data, right? So you will say, okay, let's sort the data by revenue, ascending or descending, right? So you go in Excel, you go to the header and then press the sort button and then you say, okay, sort it ascending, descending, right? Many times you will say, okay, sort not only by one column, but multiple columns. So you will say, okay, sort by region and the revenue in the descending order. So same thing you can do here. All you have to do is figure out this function which says sort underscore values, then by equal to the column name. By default, it will sort in ascending order. If you don't want ascending, you want descending, all you need to do is simply say ascending equal to false, right? So let's look at this example and search for it. So you want to simply sort the values, sort the data by a column in pandas. So hopefully, yes, this is good. So immediately you see more, and I think 95% of the time you will be able to get this particular link. Else you will get something of from Stack Overflow like this. Right? These two places should be your go-to places for simply two reasons. First, they are the accurate information provider. If you come to this link, you will get all possible answers, right? Because it is a documentation of that function, those who created it. So they will tell you what all options you have and simply what are the default values. So it says sort values by, basically it says list of names to sort by. If it is one name, you can simply put it. If it is multiple name, then you have to put it in a square bracket, which is list. Which axis we spoke initially, axis equal to 0 is like rows and axis equal to 1 is column. Usually you sort it by column, so keep it like this. Ascending equal to true, it says sort ascending versus descending. If you say false, then it will sort descending order. In place equal to false means if you say true, then the data set will be sorted and saved. Right? If you don't do anything, it will just show you the output. Original data will remain as such. Okay, this is important. It says NA equal to last. So if there are any null values in that column, then what should we do? Whether it should be first or last, right? So most likely you will want to see it at the last, but if you want to change it, you can simply say first, right? So immediately you saw like what are the possible options available. Then you will see some examples here. You can simply copy paste this in your notebook and run it. You should be able to get the desired result. Now, I like this particular example format because it gives me a flexibility to test my logic, right? So I can quickly create a data. I can quickly fill in whatever values I want and simply run the code and it will show me, okay, this is the possible output and I can immediately see if it is working correctly or not. If it is working correctly, then I will take the code and take it to my original data. So for example, I created this data frame here and said sort values by this. Then it gave me this result. Then I said no, sort by column 1 and 2. Then it will do something like this and I will check, oh yes, AAA 129 looks good. Now here it says, okay, sort by call 1 descending equal to false. So I will go here. This is call 1 DCBA. It's in reverse order. So looks correct. Then it says NA position equal to first. So automatically here it came first. Here you can see it came last because that's the default. So that's one place you can search for anything. Then whatever you want, you can search in here. Other place is this Stack Overflow. Right? Here you go simply and I would suggest look for the most recent example by date it is given. So otherwise, whatever question is your whatever your question matches to best, go for that. It doesn't matter. If you take the latest example, most likely people might have answered it based on the most recent function available in the package or library. Why it helps? Because these libraries are continuously evolving and their syntax is getting simpler. So most recent will have much better syntax and it will be much faster also. So here what happens, people come, they post their question, they will give the data and they will give something they try. And if it matches to what you're doing, you can simply go here to the solution and you can look for explanation and look for the code. You may not like this particular answer, that is okay. So you can go down further. In this case, there are no other answers, but there people offer other answers also, other solutions also. So it can give you very easy access to different kind of solution and maybe some solution which is not even accepted by this person, but that may give you better results. Okay. Now I'll stop for a moment and I will go for some questions. If you have any question, let me know. Name DF is not defined because I think you did not select it. Okay, so some people say that cannot import name series from pandas because the S is small, you have to put it in capital. S should be capital here. Okay. Module not found error. So you have to install it simply. Yeah, pandas. Okay. Yeah. You see the value here, like if you type in your questions here, people are very prompt in replying. So no need to wait for me. Any more questions? Please keep typing. In the meanwhile, if you don't have any questions, simply do this. Go to that basic Python tutorial code that you downloaded. Simply start running one by one. Right? Okay. So this thing, please come back here. We say this CSV underscore file. Do not usually write it like this because it print entire file, which may not be good also, and it may take a lot of time. It is a big data. I would say simply say head or tail. So simply say head. So let me read it. Shift enter so that it goes to it automatically executes this and selects the second one. I will say shift dot head. It is showing you 5 records 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You put 10, it will put you 10. I will show you one more thing. So sometime when you're typing this output and output is very long, right? It occupies a lot of space. You can actually click here and make it smaller, like a scrollable window, right? You can see, or if you open it, you can go down here. If you do this, it will become a scrollable window kind of thing. So let me put in some smaller number, 50, right? If you click here, it is like a long window, which may be a little annoying. So you click here again. Now you will see it is a scrollable window and you can move through this. So can you quickly read the CSV file and try to execute some of these codes? Okay, so I will give you some more interesting thing that I typically do. So I go to the CSV underscore file. This name is too big, so I will just change it because I'm a bit lazy in typing. So I will say df dot describe this data, what it is all about, right? So many times you will come to this error. So typically you check for if it says like object has no attribute like this. Mostly either your spelling is wrong or that column is not available. That is first. Second, now when I press describe, it is giving almost all the data set back. So mostly when you see like bound method of something kind of thing, imagine that there is a bracket required, right? Lot of time also I keep forgetting like whether a bracket is required, empty braces are required or not. I would say just give it a shot. Okay, so what is describe doing? It will pick up all the numeric columns and simply give their some descriptive stats. What is the count, mean, standard deviation, so on and so forth. Something else you can do, you can simply say info. So basically give me the information about the data frame. So there it will show you like how many records are there, how many columns are there, what kind of value they are taking. It is integer and object. Object means character basically. So whether it is integer, whether it is float, if it is a continuous number like in decimal, that it will say float like that. So that you can see. Now, sometimes you want to know whether there is a null value or not, right? Or yes, let's say null. So it is very simple. You say df dot is an a, and let's see what it results. So is an a is nothing. It actually gives you a value which is true or false, whether it is missing or not. Like in Excel, you go check for if error, right? Is error like that. So that checks for error. I think for null, I don't know what is there in Excel, but here it says is NA. So what it gives you is this. It says student ID row 0 column 1. It is false. That means this value is not NA, and we can see it somewhere here with the head. So let's say here. So it is not null, right? If it is null, then it will say true. Okay, so now you understand like how it does, how it operates. So what if we say df dot is na, I want only for a particular column. So you simply say take student ID and simply put it here. Okay, let me make it simpler. I'll come to individual column first, but let's first check this one. So is NA we did. I don't want all these things. I want a count of number of nulls in student and all these columns. So simply say sum. So basically it will add up wherever the value is true. So it is telling you there is no null value in the entire data frame. Okay. Then what we can also do is, and don't worry about all this syntax, we will cover them in detail. I'm just giving you some interesting things so that if you want, you can actually start exploring. Then suppose you want to say how many unique values each column has. So simple thing is n unique. And put a bracket, simply say this. So it is saying student ID has 99 unique values, gender has 2 unique values. So basically a branch has 4 unique values. So for example, if you come to branch, it says information technology, computer science, electronics, and so on and so forth. How does this help me? Because I can see whether my data is good or not, plus which column are having different kind of values, right? So if I see gender, now let's say I want to see branch, right? More values. Now I want to know what are the distinct values which branch is taking, right? And how many records are there. So first is very simple. You can simply say df dot which column we are looking for. Let's say branch dot instead of n, let's say n unique I'm typing. So what it should give me? It should give me value 4. But I was interested in knowing what are the different unique values. So I will simply say unique. And it will give me all these values, right? Suppose I want to know, and don't worry about remembering all the syntax, you will get in those files that I've shared, and I will just spend last couple of minutes in showing you those files. Now suppose somebody says that, okay, give me how many records are there by each of these values. So simply say value underscore counts. So it will say information technology 30 records, electronics 28, and so on and so forth. Somebody says give me percentages. I don't want the record, I want percentages. So simply say normalize equal to true. So it will give you percentages. Okay. Now don't ask me like I want both together. Okay, you can do that, but it may not be possible within this function. You have to do it twice. You have to join them and then do it. We'll cover that piece also, but not today, maybe in the 4th session. So similarly, you can try it for various different categorical variables. So this is one way of exploring various kinds of dimensions of the data. Okay. So let's, I think if you go through this particular code, most of the things we covered today you should be able to do it. Now I want to show you something a little advanced today, because sometime you need to see the advanced stuff to see the power of this particular tool. So what happens, like you read a data and you saw the columns, right? Mostly when you're reading data from Excel. Right? So this is a pretty nice clean data, but you can see it is first space semester. Now you remember we are writing here df dot branch dot value like this. What if I write first semester here, like this thing? If I write instead of branch, okay, it will give the error because the space is acting as a separator and my column name contains a space, so I cannot use this syntax. But does it mean I cannot do it? No, right? So there is a different way to write it. You have to use this thing. So anything like this, df followed by square bracket, means you are accessing some of the columns or rows within this data frame df. So you can simply write, and then again you have to put in code so that it consider it as a one entity, right? So if you do this, you will see that column. So now if you want to get the value count of this, obviously it will be a bit ridiculous to do that, but it will show you still. I will say normalize, let's take it off. So it is saying 79 is taking value is taken by 6 students, like that. But point I'm trying to make here is whenever your column names are not very clean, you can actually clean them very easily, right? How? And one more thing you'll see, like so these names are in mixed format, right? Education is capital D and all. So you want to convert it to lower. How will you do that? So simply there are string function which we can access by writing string, then simply upper. Okay, so it will convert all of them in upper. Does it mean in the data you have converted to upper? No, it has just displayed you. I'll show you. It is still the same way, but we can do it, right? So how do we do it? We have to change the columns, right? So we simply say df.columns and then we say is equal to this. So we are turning it to upper. Now if we go here, it didn't say anything, right? It just executed. That means it has done its job. Now if you go here, you will see they have changed to uppercase. So this is a very nice trick which very easily helps you in understanding or changing the column types. Basically lowercase, uppercase, whatever you want. Right? Another thing we typically do is like we were talking about the space thing. So if we want to replace, right? If we want to replace the space by some other character so that it won't pose problem in future, that also we can do. Similar kind of syntax, but instead of lower, I will use replace. What I will say? So immediately telling you what you want to replace. I want to replace space and I want to, let's say, replace it by underscore. And I will say this. Let's see. So you can see wherever there was a space, it replaced it with underscore. And since I earlier converted to lower, that's why it is converted to lower. Right? So it's so easy. Suppose you have to do the same thing in Excel, then you have to go and then select all the columns, Control H, space by underscore. That's what you do in Excel. Same thing it is being done here. Cool. So now we have only 2 minutes left. So I would just suggest like you go through this sheet. I'm sure that you are able to run at least your first code. I would say spend at least today some time, tomorrow some time in reading this file and going through this thing. You also have one more file here, which is Excel file. Read that also. There are 2 tabs. Read both the tabs and maybe see what is the difference between these two. Before we close today's session, I want to show you this Pandas cheat sheet, which will be helpful for you. So go for cheat sheet 1. It will look something like this, very handy. It will tell you what it is doing basically. So if you want to select a particular index, I will talk about, forget about it, but it's saying index is nothing but row and column and how to actually select it, what things it can do. So reading, writing data, it is here. And then this is something that we talked about today, right? By position, by label, you want to select and all those things. So this is very handy. You can open it up anytime, go through it. You won't remember anything for sure, but if you can remember at least 1 or 2 things, that should be good. So every day, if you can keep on enhancing your memory by 1 or 2 functions and try using it, I think you'll be good. Okay. So this is the first one. Second one, I think, is also not very advanced. So you can go through this also. Yeah. We'll cover all this merging and all. In fact, merging is something that's where we spend some more time, and I'll talk about all the details of it. So for next class, what you have to do few things. You have to read car sales file and student data file. You should be able to run basic Python tutorial code, and you should be able to do exercise 2 and 1. Exercise 1, where it is? Yes. So exercise 1 and 2, this you should be able to do. I'll show you what it is. It is very, yeah, here it is. So this is a very simple exercise. There is no code, only questions are given to you. You have to write the code and match the answer. Very simple. Okay. All right, so I think we are done for the day. Next session will be on Thursday, 15:15. Most likely you will get the link or live event link. If not, try joining this also. Otherwise, I'll post it on this AI Community Hub Teams channel also. Okay, I posted it as a news also today. Let's see if it is showing. If not, In the meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can type in. If you want to leave the session, you can leave now. Thanks for joining. I will take up questions. I'm staying back for a few more minutes. On the AI community, I added the news. Next time when I'll add the news, I'll put the link also here. So there is a feature to add event also. I don't know how it works, so let's stick to the thing that we did today. And anybody has any suggestion how we can actually let the live event, I mean, people can actually ask question verbally also, please let me know. That will be helpful. All right, I am coming to this thing. Okay, so somebody said Supriya is asking head 50 is not working. Instead of curly braces, you have to use simple brackets. Okay, any other question? Student_data.csv does not exist. You have to keep it in the same folder where your code is. Otherwise, you have to provide the path. So I'll tell you how you can do that. So sometimes we want to actually read a file and we don't know where it is located or how to use the path and all. You come here, you will simply say import os.getcwd. Then you can change to it to directory also. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm doing it here. I'm copying this thing and I will put in path here. Okay, then I will go ahead and read it. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, my notebook is not giving suggestion while typing command as your. Maybe it want you to learn more. But this is once you install the NB extensions, I think it should work. Or maybe just go and check in the preferences. So auto complete is on or not. Okay, Rajesh is asking df equal to p. Yeah. So CSV, you are saying it is caps. You should write it in smalls. Instead of capital CSV, you should write in small CSV, small letters. Okay, so Manju is actually confirming we cannot. Okay, that's very bad. Where we can find recording, the moment I get back the recording from this live event thing, I will share it in AI community again. I'll create a document plus I will share in the chat box also. Any more questions? If possible, we can have one producer added to live event so the producer can, yes. Yeah, so I tried that, it was not working. In next session, I'll try doing that. I think it is, yeah, okay. Participant I was able to see, but how to add producer, I'll check it. Thanks, Manju. Can we replace blank? Yes, you can, or do upper lower with result strings as we did similar to column. Yes, you can. Any function that we are looking at, you can do it at the values also. Very simple. In fact, the values is even simpler. All you need to do is just go and say, let's say education. I'll give you one example. So let's say DT. Okay, here. Okay. So DT dot education. It won't come. Education dot str dot lower. So you can see immediately the column is converted lower. If you want to tie it back to the data, you have to assign it. More questions? Yep, let me like it. It's something that I want. I want to build a community where people can interact. Plus also you can always go to the developer community that we have within Refinitiv also, developer portal. And there also go and post questions and look for, if you're looking for, let's say, icon data you want to analyze in Python, right? So there are ready-made books over there. In fact, there is a notebook Teams channel also. This is a specialist who code. You go there and you will see a lot of Jupyter notebooks which have codes to get data from icon. So basically, once you have the access to icon API, you can actually use this. So technical analysis, screening, aggregates, and all. You simply run this code and have some fun. So that's why I was insisting on you insisting for installing Jupyter Notebook, because you will find a lot of Jupyter notebooks available open as an open source. You can use them and run it. Okay, so Navneet is saying there were questions on brackets, different kinds of bracket. Maybe explain when you use it once more. Okay, so a few things you have to remember here. So what kind of bracket we have? We call this as a square bracket. These are these are normal braces. We call them as a curly braces, right? Now, typically, if you see Python language as such, these square brackets are used for list. This will be used for tuple. I didn't talk about tuple because you will rarely use it. And simply this is used for dictionaries, right? So I would say 99% or maybe 95% of the time you will be using the square bracket, right? Forget about all these two right now, or maybe yeah, this normal bracket also. So whenever you have to do selection or you want to change some column or rows within a data frame, you have to use the square bracket. And then you mention your rows and then you mention your columns. Let's say call 1, call 2, like this. And then here you can mention your condition also. Let's say call, okay. So one thing is like you have to be very explicit in Python. You have to tell that dt.call, let's say 3 is in dt only. dt is nothing but our data frame, equal to, let's say, whatever value we want, some value. What it will do, it will pick up few rows where the column 3 value is value, and it will select column 1 and 2. Okay, so if we have to repeat this here, we will say dt square bracket dt dot branch equal to information technology. It will give you only those records. Right now, whenever we are talking about any function, like lower is a function defined in Python, that's where we will use these braces, normal brackets. Mostly these two you will be using for a lot, sometime dictionary, but I think you can skip dictionary one right now. Any more questions? If not, anybody who wants to leave, please leave. We won't be covering anything new today because the session has already ended. We are just taking a few questions if you have. I'll give you 2 more minutes. If you have any more questions, please come up. So I guess you're clear on the next step. All you have to do is you have to go back and go through these slides. These slides are already there. Let me open up here itself. I go to AI community, Teams, files, go to Python for data analysis series 1. You go through these 2 PPTs, session 1, session 2. Go through Jupyter Notebook cheat sheet once because it will help you in write. You won't remember anything. I honestly will tell you, like if you go through this cheat sheet, you may not remember anything except 1 or 2 things which you want, right? So maybe you want to add few more cells, delete few more cells. So deleting is nothing but D, right? You press D twice, it will delete the cell. Then keep coming back to it, right? So whenever you want to look for something, keep coming back to it. Then look for this thing. Pandas cheat sheet 1. Spend some time over there, see how things are going on, and then you come back to this code. This one, where did it go? Basic Python tutorial. I should rename it actually, but let's say let it be. So take this basic Python tutorial, read the student data, and run through all the code which is written there. Code is also written, output is there. So once you run it, you should get the same output. If you are not getting the same output, that means something is wrong. Just go ahead and try to fix it. So Thursday will be next session, same time, 15 hours through a live event. Most likely the link will remain same. I don't know if it will remain same. I have shared and scheduled everything with Rashmi. She might send you EmployeeCom with a new link. How do we group values in the data frame? We'll come to it in the next session. We call it as a group by in Python, in Pandas. So values count was a function which was actually doing nothing but grouping. but we will see more explicit group by in coming sessions. All right, thanks a lot. I will talk to you soon in next session. If you have any question, please keep them posting here. With this, we will end this session today, and whenever I get the recording, I'll share it here. Thanks everyone. Bye.